Welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D, your direct line to Randy Dowdy and David Hula, here to help fellow farmers unlock the potential in their fields. Are you looking to implement best practices that maximize ROI? You've come to the right place. Real value, real yield, real ROI. Breaking Barriers with R&D starts now. Breaking Barriers is brought to you by Pioneer. When you compare Pioneer brand Vorseed Enlist corn to the competitor, Vorseed Enlist dominates in delivering yield. Your best year starts with Pioneer. And by Durastak trait technology, the latest innovation from Syngenta. Available for the 2027 season, Durastak technology features 3 powerful modes of action to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outmatch corn rootworms every move. And by Calmer Cornheads, home of the world's only all-weather stock roll. Learn more at calmercornheads.com.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Well, this is the D side or the Dowdy side. I'm not sure, Dowdy. I always get confused, man.
I hear you.
So,
I've been called worse, I can assure you.
man, it is my good pleasure to be on this podcast with you today. We got our premier sponsor, Syngenta, going to be on this afternoon, or the second part of it, with Matt and Drew. So hear a lot about what they got going on with corn rootworm, I believe. So give everybody a little teaser if you have that problem. You'll want to stay tuned. But Dowdy, what do you got going on, and where are you today?
I am in Michigan, and today we have the first hunters coming in for the deer farm. I won't say the first hunters, the first big group of hunters. We had a group here last week, and from some friends of mine from Georgia, and man, they had a blast, no pun intended. They killed 2 of the finest bucks I've ever raised, and we had a really good time of fellowship. For those that don't know, I got a deer farm, Next Level Whitetails in Michigan, and we've been diversifying, trying to learn some animal husbandry skills. But David, you and I have for quite some time figured out that there's a way to get expression of yield, the expression of yield in corn and beans that nobody's recognized. I'm trying to be able to get expression of antlers that nobody understands or has been able to accomplish, and I'm learning a lot, and I can tell you there's a lot of them that are way ahead of me. But there is a science to growing big corn and big beans yields, but there is definitely a science to creating big animals, and animals that produce and that do well. And I'm outside of my box. It's very interesting to me. I'm enjoying it, but I'm starting to learn more about how the cattle industry has done things for years. Now that science and technology is being applied to the cervid industry, whitetails.
Well, I saw some pictures of those 2 deer that those folks killed last week. And Daddy, I know you've invited me to come up there many times, and usually what do I say? They could all die because I am sick. I'm over deer, buddy. That is not something you want to hear when you're trying to raise them in a high fence. But
That's
for
right.
me, there's a different purpose for a deer.
I understand completely. Well, when they're taking away part of your livelihood and they're a pain and a nuisance, I get it. But this is for obviously the meat's fantastic. I mean, it's nothing like I've ever had. I've hunted all my life, 30 plus years, 40 years, and to eat a elk or whitetail in the wild, I mean, it has an acquired taste for sure, and it's good. I mean, I enjoy it, but this is taking it to a whole new level. No pun intended. It is fine, fine. If you like prime beef, this is what it tastes like. And we've got a deer nutritionist involved, and we create the best food that we can. We've got obviously the best browse that I know how to grow as a farmer. We got irrigated food plots, David, irrigated fields just for deer, clover, alfalfa, small grains, etc., chicories. We feed them
Well,
alfalfa.
I think I got irrigated fields just for deer to eat too, man.
I hear you. Well, sometimes it feels that way, especially in the South. But we do the best we can with, nutrition and reducing stress. But next time, all the listeners out there that are hunters, next time they go harvest a deer, tell them to roll that deer over, and when they go to skin it out, look for how many ticks is on the deer. That's one cool thing that we put some stuff in the feed to help prevent ticks from being on the deer. That's just a level of stress, something, biting and feeding on them all the time. There won't be a tick on any of our deer. And that's part of the stress management, right? And then, but what we found out, David, is there's truly a science to growing big animals. And a lot of that is genetics. And we've got pedigrees on all these deer. We do AI. We flush embryos. We take embryos from all over the country where the borders are closed between states moving the deer. We're able to bring deer in and through embryos and put them in surrogates, and we were able to raise animals. And man, there's truly a science behind what we do, and it has been fun expanding my brain in a different area to try to figure out how to do things. So we got hunters coming. I'm in Michigan. The weather's about 60 today. I left Georgia yesterday and it was 96. Um,
Mm-hmm.
96 and humid, hot, and it's awful dry in Georgia. They're digging peanuts and picking cotton down there. Peanuts are coming off early. They're starting to turn loose in the hulls. That's a big problem. And if they get the rain that they're talking about in the next few days, they're going to have an issue. So people's trying to dig peanuts as fast as they can to get them above ground so they don't sprout. Cotton's being defoliated left and right, and then obviously, the corn's been done, and then the soybean guys are, all the dryland guys are begging for a rain right now. So,
Yeah.
but it's been dry in Michigan too. We were blessed to get an inch and a half earlier in the week. That was totally just unexpected. So that was for sure a blessing. But it's been really dry, and I know some parts of the country's been dry.
Yeah. Did you now the other day when you got that inch and a half, did y'all get any wind with that? Because I know, visiting with Jake Droz, part of Total Acre, they had some wind and put a little bit of corn down up there in
Mine,
Michigan.
I'm about 2 hours north of Jake.
Yeah.
Ours did not have those straight line winds up here. I get worried about it, not just for the crop, but this high fence, we got a 60-foot barrier all the way around it that we cleared. And I'm worried about big trees falling on the fence. So we check fences daily just for that reason. But no, we were blessed to be spared from those straight line winds. Like I said, I'm a little over 2 hours north of Jake.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you talk about the deer. I know when we were in cattle, there was a little bit of breeding going on there. You wanted to have the good stock. We had bulls come in, and we never did any AI stuff, but we did have we'd rent some bulls, and they'd hang out with the cows for a while and do their thing and leave. But it's all part of the good Lord's creation. So, farming, row crops, livestock, there's a lot. And I can only imagine if once you wrap your head around that, good golly, I don't even know. They're going to have to reinvent the backbone or the neck bone of that deer to hold that head up. So,
Well, I had one this year that, I mean, really and truly, it's not. I don't like growing the big non-typicals. I have an affinity for the big typicals, something that just doesn't scream high fence or, there's been non-typicals killed in the wild for sure, but that's not what I'm trying to raise. But I'm telling you, at 3 years old, I mean, he scored 543 inches, David. Huge. That's not a world record, but it's got to be in the top 20 for sure. I mean, he's big. It was the record for a long time, but now there's some guys that's really grown some big deer. And I'm not after the world record on non-typical, but I am out to produce some big typicals. We had a buck last year that everybody probably in the hunting world knows, Milo Hansen. He killed a buck in, I think it was Canada or Saskatchewan or Alberta, somewhere up there. And it's held the record for a long time. He scored like 214 net, I think, somewhere around there, typical. And I had a 2-year-old last year that we won the Mitten Buck Award, and he was the largest typical and in the state in Michigan. And clean, he would have broke the world record as a 2-year-old if he would have been killed in the wild. Now obviously we have not harvested this deer. We're drawing semen off of him, and we're doing all we can to reproduce him in a big scale with a lot of girls. But he is a monster. David, if he would have been killed in the wild last year, 225. If he'd have been killed in the wild, he would have broke the world record. That's something, and that's what I'm trying to produce. Those really, really big typicals, and there's an art to it. And what I found out is mama's the key. that power comes from the mama side, the dam side. So we've got pedigrees on all the deer. Believe it or not, we breed with a purpose. Once we see production, and as you've heard me say many times, hope's a strategy, but it's not a good one. Hope in Jesus is a great strategy, David. But in the farming world, I mean, we can hope and do our part, but we need some science of way of doing things, and that's what we're trying to implement in the cervid industry as well.
Awesome. Well, I know your son sent me a picture last year. I think he killed one with his crossbow, I believe, and I well, like 200 and some inches. The inches and all that doesn't mean much to me, but I
You
gave
got to
him
get
the
it
whole numbers, but Easton was very particular, say, no, Dave, you forgot the 1/8 or something like that. I'm like, yes,
3/8.
sir. I
He,
get it
he,
now.
he scored 211 and 3/8, and I think you told him, I heard you killed a 211-inch deer. He said, Dave, he wasn't 211. He was 211 and 3/8.
That's right. That's just funny. So,
Oh yeah.
oh man, so I know he was proud, and
Oh yeah.
so I know the problem is now he wants to kill one bigger next year or this year. So
Man, when I told him about that big one that was killed in the preserve, and we're talking 1,500 acres now. It's not like it's a pen. That's a lot of negative publicity out there. For some people, do it wrong. We don't do that. We hunt in stands. We don't hunt off four-wheelers or UTVs, or pickup trucks. And these deer, are by all means, not tame. Do we have some does that are 100% bottle feds and they're tame? Absolutely. Did we have a triplet born 3 years or 2 years ago that we named Ranger? Um, that his two siblings died. It's we had to pull it from its mother. Its mother was not taking care of it. And for 3 days, its eyes was closed. We were bottle feeding this deer. We had to pry its eyes open. And we were the first thing that deer ever saw. Now he's dog tame. He will live for as long as his Mother Nature will allow him. We're not going to hunt him. Are there some animals out there that are more tame than others? Absolutely. But on the buck side, once they go in that preserve, man, they got 1,500 acres. They're as wild as you can imagine they are in Virginia. They don't like humans, and they do their best fight or flight to get out of the way. But we have figured out that, you know, Easton wanted to shoot that big deer that was harvested last week. And I told him it had been harvested. He said, Daddy, I wanted to shoot that one. That was the biggest one on the farm. So you're right. The bar's high now, buddy.
that's right. So you don't like pet the deer, then name them and then shoot them. So it's a little bit more.
No. There's none of that. There's some people out there that think that they're all pets and they're on a leash and all these things. And, there's probably some people out there that's giving the deer industry a bad name, but it's 1,500 acres and, it's rolling hardwoods and bottoms. It's true Michigan timber. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The leaves are starting to turn. David, falls in the air. But the leaves are starting to turn, and it is absolutely gorgeous up here. So it's my favorite time of the year.
Yeah. Well, just to give you an idea, I mean, here it is towards the latter part of September, and we're trying to harvest corn. And you mentioned the wet weather that's coming your way. We had a thunderstorm last night, got a little bit of rain, a couple tenths. Got to do a little repair on some equipment, and then we'll get going again this afternoon or as soon as that repair is done. But there is zero chance of sunshine in the next 10 days, with rain possibly every day after today. And they got those two hurricanes that are out in the Atlantic, and they have no clue what they're going to do, or storms that are going to turn into hurricanes. So I think we're kind of on edge, but we did harvest some beans, barley sprayed, and desiccated some beans, and we got just a few out. We didn't break that 100 bushel barrier, but he did do pretty good. They're probably some of the cheapest beans that we've grown for a high yield standpoint. And we're well over halfway corn. We're going to be like a lot of farmers. We're going to run out of room. Just crop's doing good, Dowdy. Hey, y'all had a good dry land crop. We're having a tremendous dry land crop up here in Virginia. Irrigated acres are doing well. but we've gotten plenty of moisture. You said y'all were dry down there. I'd love to give you some because we like to keep going. And we're starting to think about chicken litter. We're getting it piled up. We'll be soil sampling here soon, and we'll be putting out some lime, Dowdy. So it's fall time, and we're cleaning wheat as hard as we can. Nobody wanted to order any wheat until within the last 10 days, and now they all want it in like tomorrow. Go figure.
Is it go? That's the farmer way. Did the basis change? Are they going to use it for cover crops, or are they going to actually plant it for crop or for milling wheat?
Yeah, no, we don't sell cover crop wheat very often. So most of it, we're part of that Unisouth genetics group, and we got some good lines that bearded, unbearded. We have some good lines for flour for the milling industry, and I had a customer call yesterday, ordered a couple loads, and it was all geared towards milling quality. So we were going through, and one of the newer varieties, the USG 3451, North Carolina State says is one of the best milling wheats that they've dealt with. So we're trying to get that one out, and we didn't grow any, so I'm trying to source some, and it'll probably be in their wheelhouse this year. We do raise a lot of cover crop oats, black oats, and we send that up to Pennsylvania and Ohio to Center Seeds, Sustain Seed and Soil, and they use them for cover crop, all in their cover crop mix. And you think about black oats, it's a black grain, so the hull and everything's like a normal oat, yellow, but the grain is black. So when it's maturing and ready to harvest, you see that black berry kind of sticking out of that yellow hull, which is kind of interesting. And the neat thing about these black oats is they don't overwinter very well. So a farmer can plant them in the fall and up north, and then usually the winter will kill it. Now we are about as far north as you can grow the seed. So we haven't had a problem with it overwintering in Virginia. And last year we were harvesting some, and I saw the yield monitor tick over 200 bushels several times. So we were picking a lot of 150, 170, and then some 200 bushel oats. And you get excited, Dowdy. I know you're picking 3, 4 plus 100 bushel corn, but when you see 200 bushel oats, that's something different there.
So, oh yeah, that, and when you start seeing over 200 bushel wheat too, I mean that's what's the record on wheat? 240.
I couldn't tell you. I know the best that we've ever done, and I know it's been long past that, but we had that farm there at Jamestown. That farm averaged 144 bushels one year, and it was a good wheat year. And it was a wheat variety that Virginia Tech developed, and it was one that when conditions were warm, it would grow. And we didn't finish planting that variety until the day before Thanksgiving, which is awfully late for us, but we had a warm winter, and it responded because it was, every day over 32 degrees, that wheat grew, and it did quite well. But that's not something that we want to plan on doing. Wait until Thanksgiving to plant wheat. I want to be home with Mama eating a turkey.
I heard that. No doubt about it. Well, harvest is always a stressful time just in and of itself. And when you got named storms out there that's barreling down on you, David, and you're at the point of capturing what you worked for all summer and spring, man, it's frustrating. And a lot of people in the Midwest, they're blessed that they don't have to deal with a lot of hurricanes. They get derechos, they get some wind events, but hurricanes is a different animal. You get the wet weather typically in the saturated ground, and then you get the wind on top of it, and it's almost insult to injury. It's a problem, and as well as I do, then you start thinking about grain quality issues. I think you saw a taste of that too in those beans. I mean, those beans, when you desiccate beans in their full season, man, that combine better be ready, and the weather needs to cooperate because it will rot right before your eyes, and it's just a problem. And I'm sure that's probably what I think I heard you say when y'all cut the ends. Some of the beans didn't look good; they were starting to deteriorate. So that's a product of the environment. When they're ready, they need to be able to get out of the field timely, and as I understood it, you were struggling with the weather, trying to cooperate and get those beans out.
Yeah, we desiccated them, and the forecast was decent, but then they were talking about a little bit of rain. And I asked Barley, I said, "Are you sure you want to desiccate them?" He said, "Yeah, they won't." He said, "We'll get the wet weather before they start to dry down." And he was true, they did. And then we had just a little window to harvest them, because if he didn't harvest them Tuesday this week, they wouldn't have been harvested, because we've had little showers, and I think they were like at 14 and a half moisture. So he got them out at about as good time as he could. And Dowdy, as you well know, beans, they want to be dry, or you want to get them out only one time that they should get to 13.5% moisture, and that's in the grain bin. You don't want to let them sit in the field, get dry, get
Yes.
wet, get dry, get wet, because then you deal with the quality, you deal with wrinkled seed coat, and for a seed guy, wrinkled seed coat's not a thing that you want, because you get a wrinkled seed coat, and as you handling beans, that wrinkle could get a pinhole in it, and then that bean's not going to germ. And then, of course, we don't want discolored beans. They want them all to be the same color when you treat them with that Renpro plus green color, or red for the Midwest version. Got to talk about our seed treatments there, Dowdy.
Yes,
So,
sir. Well, that's good stuff. And if you've never tried, and I'm gonna put a plug in, because when we broke the record, we had Ren Pro Plus seed treatment on the beans. I mean, there's something to it for sure. So it's something that guys are going to treat beans that they probably should consider for sure. But David, the whole function really protecting yield is to, everybody struggles to make 60-pound test weight on the beans. And those beans wet and dry, wet and dry, wet and dry, that is 100% part of the reason why people don't make these 60-pound test weight beans. I mean, yield goes out the window, and it's part of that phantom yield loss. So if they can get them out and dry them, that's an easy way to make some money.
yeah. So, Dowdy, I think, here we are in the fall. A lot of combines are starting. The Midwest is starting, and, they're seeing some of the impact of the rust. We're not going to talk about the rust. We've been seeing pictures. People are seeing it. Don't want to beat a dead horse down. We need them to plan better for next year. But combines are getting ready. We do get in a hurry. I mean, people do silly things. They lose sleep. They're working late, and they get rushed. So we got to make sure that everybody pays attention, come up with a plan. There's nothing wrong with having a safety meeting every morning. I like to talk to my driver, say, "Hey man, let's not get in a rush. I know I'll probably be the one on the phone. Hey, where is the truck? When are you going to get here?" But just it's just communication. So I don't want to read about these farm accidents that we see too many times in some publications, and you hear about them, whether people are in the grain bin or whether they're doing anything with the equipment. So as growers are out there, please just take a deep breath, start your day off right, like you're supposed to. Say a prayer, be ready. And then at the end of the day, be thankful for what the good Lord has blessed you. So, Dowdy, it's always fun to talk about what you and I got going on, but we have one of our premier sponsors are getting ready to come on with Syngenta, and we're blessed to have two folks, and they're going to talk about corn. One of the most important things when I think about farming, and it's kind of like my hobby, corn. So I'm anxious to hear what Syngenta and Drew and Matt are going to share with us in reference to corn.
With corn rootworm costing farmers up to $1 billion a year, you need the right strategy. Introducing Durastak trait technology, featuring 3 powerful modes of action to strike corn rootworm at full force, outsmart, outmaneuver, and outmatch their every move with the industry's first triple BT protein stack built for corn rootworm control. Take back your yield potential. Make your move at Durastak.com. Available for the 2027 season.
Hi, I'm Marion Kalmer, farmer and inventor of the Kalmer BT Chopper Shock Roll. For over 20 years, farmers have been using the Calmer BT Chopper stalk roll to cut corn stalks into confetti-like pieces for accelerated decomposition. Call us at 309-629-9000 or visit us online at calmercornheads.com.
What a win!
That's how you finish a season.
Pioneer brand 4-seed Enlist corn dominated DeKalb Smart Stacks and VT4 Pro.
An average 7.1 bushels per acre yield advantage across more than 24,000 comparisons.
Plus, all that corn rootworm protection and herbicide flexibility.
That's a dream team.
That's Pioneer brand 4-seed Enlist corn. In it to win it.
Plant the 100th season of Pioneer. Visit pioneer.com/rootworm.
Joining us now, Jared Coy. Jared is a service tech for Environmental Tillage Systems. That is the maker of the Soil Warrior strip till system. Jared, strip till isn't necessarily a new concept, but what makes this different that growers should consider now?
It's definitely not a new concept to the industry. You know, we as a company have been around 21 years. I think with more expensive inputs and trying to do more with what we have, strip till really puts us in a place to be able to do that. You know, we can variable rate our fertilizer, better fertilizer placement, better seed bed. You know, we can utilize one pass across the field for our fertility and our tillage versus multiple passes, so we can save tractor hours, labor hours, fuel consumption, and just really increase our ROI on every acre.
Okay, that sounds great. But when the grower walks through the field, what should he expect if he makes that change over to a strip till?
Yeah, I think he's going to see more even emergence. I think he's going to see his plant get a hold of the fertility a little bit sooner. This is right there in that zone. I think he's going to notice in the tractor cab and a planter a lot smoother ride from his planter. In reality, it's just comes down to fertility placement, plant getting a hold of it sooner, and better placement of seed, a better zone to be planting into, and a better planter ride.
All right, there's a lot to be gained, but let's focus on one. What's the greatest opportunity for farmers making that changeover?
I would say to be able to cut input costs, be able to do more with less, you know, one pass across the field, and to be able to put your fertility in place, do your tillage, and cut back on fuel consumption, hours spent in a tractor, be able to do more with less.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jared. Jared Coy with the Environmental Tillage Systems. They are the makers of Soil Warrior strip till systems.
Well, again, welcome to Breaking Barriers with R&D. It is not only my great pleasure to be working with Randy, but today we also have one of our premier sponsors that we're going to have a key segment. And when you think about our sponsors, you know, Syngenta, you know, clearly we oftentimes think about crop protection and we think about some seed, but today we're going to talk about corn and then some of the traits with corn. And we're fortunate enough to have Matt Dolch here, who's in charge of the corn production manager. And then Drew Showalter, who is the head corn portfolio strategy team, I'm imagining there, Drew. So welcome to being part of Breaking Barriers. We really appreciate y'all's sponsorship. You know, y'all were the first premier sponsors we had. And, you know, we're just starting off with a podcast, Randy and myself. And, you know, I'm sure there was like, okay, well, you got two guys here that have had success. Well, one had success with beans, but both of us have had success with corn, which is neat why y'all are here today. But being that first premier sponsor, thank you. And hopefully you're seeing some of the rewards for that sponsorship, because I'm sure people have got to start talking to y'all about it. But I'm anxious to hear what y'all got to talk about in reference to some of the corn issues that y'all have been working with to overcome to help growers in the U.S.
Very good. Well, certainly a privilege to be here. You look at Breaking Barriers. I mean, what a catchy name. We're glad to be a part of that. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today with some of our technology. So privileged to be here and appreciate you having us.
Yeah, David, I think both Matt and I were in Denver. If it wasn't the unveiling of the podcast with Tyne Morgan, it was certainly one of the first big announcements of the podcast. So yeah, we're happy to partner with you. and looking forward to connecting. Hopefully in the future, we're big fans of your guys' work. So thanks for having us.
Oh, well, it is clearly our pleasure. So now Syngenta has been doing a lot in reference to corn. I remember the old NK corns. I remember planting 6811, and then it had some numbers behind it. Now I'm kind of dating myself now because I know y'all got some new numbers, but technology's come a long way. Breeding, earlier we were talking about breeding livestock and four-legged deer. So when I think about corn, we think about breeding for corn, and you think about just yield, but there are other problems going on in the country, and the podcast that we're dealing with, we talk about what's in our area and problems, but corn rootworm's not a big problem for me. And I don't know that it's a big problem for Dowdy because of our rotations, but it is a problem in the country. And I think Syngenta has got a big focus on that. So, Matt, help explain a little bit about the problem that y'all are seeing, and then we'll talk about y'all or hear y'all's solution.
Sure. Yeah. What we're seeing with corn rootworm over the past 5 to 10 years is really concerning. I mean, you think about maximizing yield and make sure that we're setting up that yield factory for success. We really reference corn rootworm as that $1 billion bug, where they're becoming increasingly challenging to control. So they're outsmarting maybe some of the traditional methods that we utilize out there. Beetles showing up in new areas, they're overwintering here and becoming a problem where they historically haven't been a problem. Kind of think about it as unwanted guests that refuse to leave, but then they invite all their friends to come into the field and stay as well. So that's really the baseline for the problem here. And what's making it worse is, farmers want to grow corn. They like growing corn. And there's a perfect environment for those corn rootworm to thrive and survive. So changing weather patterns aren't helping either. We've had some milder winters over the past few years, and that means more beetles are in line to damage next year's crop. So it's really becoming a year-round management situation here versus just an in-season type concern. And that's some opportunities that we've got to educate farmers and talk with them about that.
So Matt, I know, when we're doing the total acre crop tour in the summertime, oftentimes certain stages, we catch it when the crop's smaller, and then we catch it when the crop's pollination or just prior to pollination. And, we'll start seeing some of those corn rootworm beetles flying around. And I'm amazed at how many growers don't even recognize them. So it kind of surprises me. So when they talk, and then you get some that are aggressive, they're out there spraying, trying to kill some of the adult populations before they get the chance. And it is becoming a management from a grower standpoint. But Drew, I think that I'm sure Syngenta in the scheme, because y'all have created some pretty impressive traits for the corn for above ground, but now y'all are focused on below ground. And not that you weren't before, but you got some new stuff coming about. So what kind of solutions are y'all kicking off now?
Yeah, that's why we wanted to be on today, was to talk about our latest innovation to control corn rootworm, which is Durastak. So we've been focused on delivering new technologies and innovation to farmers. Durastak is one of those examples from Syngenta that is going to deliver next level corn rootworm control, and farmers are going to experience better standability. And I think what matters most, they're going to protect yield and experience top yield potential with Durastak, because we've added insect protection to our offer, and we're delivering some true choice to the marketplace that, as Matt describes, the market desperately needs in the Central Corn Belt as corn rootworm continues to evolve and new geographies are experiencing corn rootworm for the first time, or maybe are experiencing it again after a lull. So Durastak is a great solution for farmers, and something we're super excited about.
So you talk about it's the corn rootworm is becoming a problem outside the realm. of normal areas. We're experiencing southern rust in parts of the country that, typically don't see it. So for a grower that hasn't had a corn rootworm problem, what are some of the signs and symptoms, and what are the effects of, or what does a corn rootworm do to the crop?
I think a couple different things here. You had mentioned it earlier, David, but you're out there in some of your trials, right, and taking a look here across the country, and folks just don't know they have a problem. So walking out in the field and making sure we're scouting is first and foremost. You start to see some of that heavy rootworm pressure or damage, severe root pruning. So if you dig those roots, you can see some nodal damage here from corn rootworm feeding. You certainly can have some goosenecking or lodged corn, one of the biggest visual things that you'll see. Obviously, the root factor is big, and then you get a windstorm that comes through here and get a lot of that lodged corn. And it can provide some big yield impacts here, 15 to 45% yield loss in heavily infested fields or areas, and produces some secondary issues as well. So disease susceptibility, that poor standability we talked about, and then leading into some of those harvest difficulties here, trouble getting across the field with the combine here as we move through fall.
So I'm gonna ask a dumb question, David. He talks about root feeding, and it's obvious. We don't deal with this really in the South. We mineralize so fast, rotation, etc. It's not a big issue for us, but like David, we're all over the country looking. When you look at, if you want to dig some plants, I mean, David is a big advocate for not just going look at what's going on above ground, but looking below ground. It'd be nice to be able to see some of that feeding, what the underground root feeding looks like. Because one of the biggest things, ignorance is bliss with a farmer. They don't worry about what they don't know. It's just the way it is. And once they know, then they can't unsee it, right? It's kind of like me going across the Midwest and pointing out how many ear shanks are hanging down when corn's a quarter milk line. They can't unsee that when they go out there and they start looking for that in the future. Now, if you could show us some of the symptomology, because as David mentioned, this is not in my wheelhouse, corn rootworm. It's just not. But I'd be real interested. And when we do our tours, I'd like to be digging and be able to identify some of these things myself. So, David, we're not too old for an old dog to learn new tricks for sure. But you think about how many, as you were sitting there talking about root feeding, you think about how many plants we dug this year across the Midwest, and how I would always point out different roots and how our roots look different than theirs, and all the prevalence of fine root hairs, all the pieces of the puzzle that we try to put together. It makes me wonder, could some of that be the rootworm feeding on some of those roots as to why they don't have the volume and the mass and just the sheer, diversity of roots that we have that we think drives a lot of our yield.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matt made some great points. In Randy, your comments spurred some thoughts in my head, which is when a farmer experiences down corn due to corn rootworm, they never forget it, and they'll be thinking about how to manage corn rootworm differently from then on, because it's dramatic. When you go out and see intense corn rootworm feeding, heavy to even moderate rootworm feeding, where you weren't expecting to see it and you weren't utilizing the trait, you're certainly going to have yield impacts. And I think what's probably just as important to farmers many times is that harvest experience. It's what most people love to do. And when you got down corn and standability that's challenged due to corn rootworm, it's not a fun experience.
Well, the biggest problem is when you have down corn, when it's something that a grower could control, then they got to point their finger at themselves. A lot of times they'll be down corn, they'll just blame the hybrid, say, "Oh, it was that hybrid." But when it could be a management scheme. Now, so Durastak, it's a trait. For what would you be replacing? Like, how would growers traditionally be trying to control corn rootworm? And then with this trait below ground, I mean, clearly, we get in this environmental arena where if we can reduce pesticides, this is a good thing. But so what would growers traditionally be doing for rootworm, and then where's the Durastak going to fit?
Yeah, David, we talked earlier about corn rootworm becoming really, really smart and maybe evolving over time. So what we're looking to do is add in, again, that next level of corn rootworm control. So we're proud to launch the industry's first 3 BT protein control for corn rootworm. And when you look at that stacker control here in next level, we're going to provide improved standability, which is something really important to farmers to make sure, again, we can pull the yield into the combine, and then top end yield potential. So part of our opportunity here is a proprietary molecular stack here, bringing, again, that next level corn rootworm control through some really nice science and information here that Syngenta seed technology is providing.
So the growers, he's like doesn't have to put the insecticide in the tank or in the with the planter, or should we still be looking at a complete program to try to prevent that rootworm from becoming more intelligent to overcome a new trait? So should we be stacking on top, or can a grower just say, "Hey, we'll go with Durastak for a while, and then we'll come back with pesticides if we need to later"?
I mean, we like to think about it as a multi-year approach to managing corn rootworm to help manage resistance. Uh, Traits and BT proteins have become one of farmers' best friends to manage corn rootworm. But if you're in a continuous corn environment, which in states like Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, that's a very real management practice. You need to be thinking long and hard about your long-term management strategy to help manage corn rootworm for the long haul, because innovation, I won't say has slowed down, but bringing new technology to manage the billion-dollar pest that Matt talked about is not easy. So farmers need to have a long-term approach. Durastak, we think, certainly fits in well, but crop rotation is critical. Utilizing soil applied insecticides is critical, and a combination of all in the right environments is critical as well. David, I think you did ask about how Durastak's going to fit into our portfolio. I wanted to make sure we hit that as well. Durastak is going to rapidly become our lead offer within our portfolio. Again, we certainly think it's a step change for us to deliver that next level corn rootworm control. We're still going to have Duracade in our portfolio as well, and we're still going to launch Duracade, which is another proprietary stack to Syngenta to manage corn rootworm control. But the Cadillac for us is when we combine Durastak, which again, delivering next level corn rootworm control with Viptera. And Viptera is, I think, the industry's best insect protection measure for above ground pests, tough to control pests like corn earworm, western bean cutworm. And when we've got a stack like Durastak Viptera, we're going to deliver some of the most comprehensive insect control in the industry to help protect yield. So it will become our lead stack. We're still going to have a suite of traits like Duracade, like Viptera as a standalone above ground product as well, to help farmers protect yield and manage not only rootworm but above ground pests as well.
So David, nope, sorry. Let me say something here if you don't mind. There's no question, Viptera is by far the best corn earworm protection, and that is a major enemy for us in the Southeast. And David, you've heard me say it a bunch of times. I mean, it's great to make 500 bushel corn, but if it's on the ground and you can't get it and harvest it, and if you can't sell it when you do have it, or you got kernel damage from just pests that you can't control, man, you're going backwards really fast. And nobody loves to or enjoys or even remotely enjoys harvesting down corn. It sucks, and I'll just put it out there like it is. some of ours comes from wind, but a lot of it comes from pest. And so the Viptera piece of it is huge. Some of the hybrids out there don't have really good shuck coverage, and when you King David, they don't make a shuck long enough to cover all that either. So it's just the way it is. But you know, protecting that grain's a big deal. But I'm going to ask the question that's on everybody's mind right now. They're hearing about this. They say, well, I want the insurance piece of this. I want to be able to control above ground and below ground. If I want to do the Viptera, obviously I can do it solo. But if I want to combine the technology or just start introducing the Durastak technology to my portfolio, this year of all years, with the pressure of input costs and just poor commodity prices and marketing and demand and supply and all of those pieces of it, everybody's out here saying that's all great, but what's it going to cost? So when guys want to get into the marketplace and they start thinking about us, number one, will it be available across all seed platforms or just Syngenta seed? Number two, if it's going to go across the portfolio, what can a grower expect on the seed cost to you know, if they want to capture this potential in this technology, how much will they have to figure in their budget per acre? You know, on a normal planting population or per bag, what does that look like? Because I know that's what guys are going to be thinking when they hear about this. This is great. It's a problem. Now, what's it going to cost me?
I'll maybe hit our approach, and then I'll let Matt hit pricing as our corn product manager. Yeah, this technology is a significant investment for Syngenta. So whether it's Durastak, but you know, any trait technology, we want to try to recoup that investment as much as possible. So we're certainly going to bring it into our brands as rapidly as we can, Golden Harvest and NK. But yeah, we have a trait licensing business, and we enable independent seed companies, even major trait providers as well, with some of our technologies from time to time. So we will license Durastak and Durastak Viptera, just like we've licensed Duracade and Viptera over the past decade plus. Throughout the seed industry. So fully anticipate our brands will move first, and then we'll have licensees and independent seed companies jump in as well. And I'll let Matt hit the value component of Durastak, and maybe what growers should expect from Durastak.
Sure. Yeah, Randy, appreciate the question. I think back to our original conversation to start the call here, farmers that don't understand that they've got a problem, make sure we get out in the field and looking. So my question back would be, what are corn rootworm costing you in terms of yield on your local farm? I think once we get that answered here, then we can start to assign a value to the genetics and trait platforms that Syngenta is bringing forward in Durastak Viptera. So we've always tried to approach the market in a very cost-effective way, providing top-notch technology at an affordable price for producers out there. And again, I think you get into areas where you've got a big problem. This can pay tenfold here in terms of what technology we're providing. So overall for us, you look at cost here, costs certainly go up for everyone in the industry here. We're going to have a ladder, so genetics tied to traits here that provide options for the top performing acre, highest yielding acre, all the way down through maybe some of those more marginal acres that you're working with as well. But we'll evaluate that year to year and look at our costs versus maybe some of the other competitive options out there. And I can guarantee you we're going to be in a good position versus some of those other competitors.
Well, sometimes you can't afford not to do something.
That's right.
It just takes one black eye. It's just like you said, when a guy's had a problem, he won't ever forget it. And it's the people out there that hope that this not going to be their problem that probably is leaving a lot of money on the table. So I'm real grateful that obviously the industry is pushing forward to create solutions.
Yeah, my late dad, he oftentimes said, no matter what we do, Mother Nature is going to win. And we talk about when we have those shortcomings where, hey, there was something that we could have controlled And we didn't do that. And that was one of the things my dad oftentimes would emphasize, like, you got to take responsibility and control the things that you can control. And when I think about the terror trait that came about, you know, it's one thing to get a corn earworm in there, but we're also in a flight pattern with blackbirds. And when a blackbird senses that corn earworm in the ear, then he goes, eats, and then all of a sudden he realizes there's food there too. So not only are they getting the worm, but now they start eating the corn and trying to control any of the things that we can control. And but terror has been a big part of our portfolio. And fortunately, we haven't struggled with the rootworm yet. Now, I don't know if Matt or Drew are saying that it might be a problem that we might be having in the future, but we don't currently have it, or at least I haven't experienced it yet. And I don't see the adults flying like we do when we're out in the Midwest. And I do like what Dowdy said, though. There may have been times I was digging some corn plants and me myself not knowing that there was a corn rootworm problem. So I like the fact that y'all are going to be educating and helping growers identify that what is going about. And how else could growers, if they want more information or they want to understand, hey, this is a problem, or just understanding corn rootworm problems, Matt or Drew, how could a grower find out more information?
We'd invite folks right out of the gate to visit Durastak.com and make sure you learn about our latest and next level corn rootworm innovation. So that'd be the first spot. And certainly invite everyone to talk with one of our local Syngenta representatives. I've got a lot of great people out in the field in your backyard, in your local communities. And just like on this show, relationships in agriculture are key. And we'd love to have a one-on-one conversation with farmers out there about how we can help them and talk about solutions for managing corn rootworm with Durastak Viptera trait technology.
Well, I'm looking forward to 2026. I hope God blesses us with good weather, because Dowdy's kind of been off the scene working with total acre growers and return on investment mode, and doing his absolute best to figure out a way to, grow a crop the cheapest way possible. That was one of the things that our growers really wanted to do. And I've kind of got out of the contest stuff for several years. But in 2026, Lord willing, if the weather will cooperate and things work out, Randy's looking forward to seeing if he still got it. And my plan, David, and we need to get the NK rep or somebody in South Georgia to reach out to me. I know they've changed a couple of times, but David, I'm gonna put a little pressure on you. Maybe we need to try some of this Durastak on your farm and in Dowdy farms in the future, and let's just see if we've given up anything and what this new technology will do for us. Let's just see. I mean, ignorance is bliss. Let's see what we're missing out on, and I think it'd be a cool deal if we could ring the bell with some of that technology. Maybe it reinforces that maybe we still could learn some things too.
Well, Dowdy, we're always learning. We should if you stop learning, then you ought to not be playing the game anymore. But trying some new technologies and new traits, I'm all for it. One of the things that I know Matt and Drew are probably very big on is testing. And I'm sure they've tested this product both in a corn rootworm and a non-corn rootworm environment. So be anxious to see how some of it plays out in 26 as well. And but before we let y'all go, are any Drew or Matt, are y'all deer hunters by chance?
Deer hunt. I am a big deer hunter, David. So
well, I'm going to introduce you to somebody that knows how to raise big deer.
Okay.
Randy Dowdy.
Okay.
I know a guy that's had pretty good success in growing some whitetails, and if you guys ever come up to Michigan or just want to, if you're like me, I hunted for a long time, and I would take 2 to 3 weeks off, and we'd pattern deer, and to kill a big deer, you had to hunt where big deer were, and then you had to spend the time to make it happen. Some of it was luck, but some of it was just strategy and effort. And there's no doubt about it. All of us are busy and we don't have the amount of time to go spend 2 or 3 weeks hunting anymore like we'd like to.
Yeah.
But we still enjoy the sport. So if you guys ever are looking for a place to go, I got a place in Michigan, and we do have some big deer for sure. It's a high fence, but we're able to control genetics. I think you guys know something about that.
Yeah.
We're able to control genetic and birthdays, and we breed with a purpose. But we do enjoy what we do, and we get to spend a lot of time. It'd be great to talk shop, sitting in a deer stand, looking at some big whitetails.
Yeah, appreciate that, Randy. I grew up in Southwest Iowa. We had a lot of deer. Did not have the high fence, but I think everybody else cheats a little bit here. So I grew up shotgun hunting with slugs, and everybody uses the rifle here. That's a little different ball game. So
there you go. There you go.
There we go.
Well, it's always good to have like-minded people that think outside the box and brings opportunity. One of the biggest things I've always heard David say, and I picked up on a long time ago, he does his part, but he likes to surround himself with smart people and good people in a team. And we value Syngenta. We value the sponsorship, but also the products that you bring to the table that help make just the ends meet at the farm gate. And that's a big deal for us. David talked about it earlier. It's about controlling the controllables. And one of the biggest things we have to do as farmers is understand where yield is captured and where yield is lost. If we can control that, we need to do something about it. And I guarantee you, people are having problems out there that, ignorance is bliss. They need to get in their fields and need to scout. But hopefully you guys are going to help educate that, hey, there's more awareness to be placed in certain areas. And, we appreciate the friendship and the partnership.
thank you. Appreciate everything you're doing to promote agriculture, top end production, all the above. So privileged to be on the show here today.
Yeah, David, it looks like you're winning against Mother Nature more than you're losing, but we'll do our best to help you keep winning, keep innovating. It's something that I'm very proud of. I know Matt is. We love bringing new technologies to the market. This won't be our last. We're committed to innovation, committed to helping provide some choice in the market. So we've got some more fun stuff coming over the next decade plus. So hopefully this podcast is still going for the next decade, and we'll be able to connect with you guys for new technologies and talking corn and maybe even soybeans too.
Oh my goodness, we don't want to talk about beans right now.
I said maybe.
That's right. But now I look forward to being, there's always room to be part of our team. So we haven't stopped drafting anybody right now. And as part of Breaking Barriers with R&D, I really truly value Syngenta's sponsorship, and it's been a pleasure to have both you, Drew, and Matt on the podcast today, and look forward to talking to y'all and seeing some of the technologies in 26. So God bless. So Dowdy, it's always a good pleasure to do these podcasts with you. And good luck on your deer hunts this week with your group. And we're going to try to get harvests and hope everybody can be safe and stay focused on what the good Lord wants us to do to bring more people to Jesus Christ. So
Amen.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon for another new episode of Breaking Barriers with R&D. Be sure to like and subscribe. And remember, all episodes are available on Farm Journal TV and anywhere podcasts are found.